This meeting order at 7:01 p.m. Thank you for joining us this evening for our Village of Alsip Truth and Taxation public hearing. We'll call this meeting, we said, at 7:01. Can you call the roll, please?
Yes, Trustee McGreal is absent at this time. Trustee Dalzell is absent. Trustee Zielinski?
Here.
Trustee Juarez?
Here.
Trustee McLaughlin?
Here.
Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. So we'll do the pledge at the regular meeting. We'll start that. So we're going to have a presentation this evening by our Finance Director, Kent Olivan. This is going to outline the village's 2018 property tax year levy conversation and possible request.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to go over what we're going to go over, which is the Village of Alsip's 2018 property tax year levy, and it's the presentation topics that we're going to go over today. The first one is the timetable. There's some clarification. I wasn't at the last meeting, and there's some clarification on the timetable, and we'll go through that. How your tax bill is created, the village's total equalized assessed value, and how your tax bill is created. There's actually two very short videos that will lead directly into the EAV discussion and will help with that. Then we'll look at last year's tax rates across the whole area, see where we compare. Then where the property taxes go across all the taxing bodies in your property tax bill. Then we'll look at our governmental fund revenues and expenditures, our bond levy, which is called the bond and interest levy for some reason, and our other direct debt. We'll look at something big that's not the bonds, but the public safety, pension, and retiree health care levies. And then we'll look at the historic breakout of where the property tax levy was spent. We'll look at our current budget and the 2018 tax levy as it was determined. So starting our timetable, on Monday, November 26th, we had a Finance Committee meeting here, and we discussed the tax year levy. On Friday, November 30th, the Finance Committee agreed upon a tax year 18 aggregate levy increase of 2.5%. And then almost immediately afterwards, on Wednesday, a draft tax levy ordinance was posted on the village's bulletin board. This was not required by law. There's no law, whether it's the state or at the local level, to do this, and it's never been done before. So that was on the bulletin board in the hallway. That draft levy ordinance was also posted on the website. Again, it was not required by law, and it's never been done before, but in the interest of transparency. And on the very next day, a black box notice was published in the Mount Greenwood Express. There's some confusion on this. It's not required by law, and we have not done it before. We did it only when it's been required, which was last year, but we had not done it in prior years. That's a debate we've worked with internally as to whether or not we should publish a black box notice in the paper. The reason is there's a cost to it, and it's not required. It's a $250 cost to do that, but we did do that this year, and this is the first time, in my knowledge, and I believe ever, that we've published it when we were not required to do so. I know of no other government that does all of those things when they're not required to do it. And then we have a truth and taxation hearing. This is at least our third one. Last year it was required, but the previous ones were not, and this one is not required either. This is, again, is in the interest of transparency and having interaction on where your taxes come from. After this meeting is the regular village board meeting, and there's a tax levy vote at that meeting. And then normally you file, the state law says you have to file your tax levy by the last Tuesday in December. Unfortunately, that law wasn't really thought out all that well. This particular year, the last Tuesday in December is Christmas. The Cook County Clerk's Office is also closed the day before Christmas and the weekend before Christmas. So you actually, this year, all the way back to the Friday before Christmas is when it's due. How your tax bill is calculated, I'm hoping I can figure out how to get these videos to work, because they're two very short videos, but I think they're very informative. So, I'm going to move over to here. I'm going to close this. And I'm hoping there's one without that. Did that come up? No, it did not come on that screen, and I'm not sure why it's not.
You want to try and come back to that?
I think we're going to have to. If we can do it at the end, we will come back to that.
All right.
Okay. So your equalized assessed value, that's hard to see, but in 2018, from tax year 08 to tax year 2015, the EAV, or the equalized assessed valuation in the village, dropped 41%. The last 2 years, it's actually increased 23% or 23.5%, but over that whole period, even with the increase, it's still gone down 27.6%, lower from its peak in the tax year 2008. What's that mean? For the most part, it doesn't mean any difference in the tax rate that anyone pays. Actually, not for the most part. It doesn't. It does not affect your tax rate. What it does is affect a little bit where the money goes. So when EAVs go down or don't go up, money doesn't go into the TIFs. And so we've gotten relatively little money coming into the TIFs for our open TIFs because the EAVs have gone down from their base level. They just haven't gone up higher. So there's no money for the TIFs, which means, or very little money for the TIFs, which means very little economic development tools that the village can use to add more shopping and restaurants, etc., for the village and help defray some of the property taxes with sales tax. What's the property tax composed of? 40% of it is residential, 19.5% is commercial, 40.3% is industrial. So just slightly over, the industrial area is slightly more, or about the same as the residential in terms of the value of the property. Now, how industrial, a good portion of the industrial and commercial, however, are taxed at a higher rate. That was part of the video that we didn't see. Most of them are taxed at 25%, whereas residential is taxed at 10%. That means the commercial and industrial is picking up the majority of the property taxes in this town for the services that are being used. And then, do we collect our taxes? Well, if you go back 2 years, a 1 year lag doesn't do it, but we're at 99.9% of the taxes that the village board approved of have been distributed to the village. That's a good rate. So, how do we compare to other municipalities? Being alphabetical, you might not be able to see that where you're at, but the very first row is Alsip. Then it goes Blue Island and on alphabetically all the way to Worth at the end. And you can see that we're one of the lowest lines out there. Chicago Ridge, which is a couple more past us, 3 past us, is about the same. It's slightly lower, but it's right about the same. And we're somewhat similar demographics to Chicago Ridge. The 2 that are below that may have lower property tax rates from their municipality, but their municipality is charging them more for water rates. And we know that because they're the ones we supply water to. It's Palos Heights and Crestwood. So not only do they have to help pay to get the water to the same place you do, but they have to pay to get it further than that. So they have higher rates because of that. So we're very in line with the best of all of those municipalities out there. Some of them have considerably higher. The really tall one you see is Park Forest. Riverdale's not far behind it. But there's a lot of them out there. They're much higher than ours. So now let's look at where your property tax bill goes. And so for every dollar that's collected, the elementary school districts, I averaged the 3 major school districts. So averaging them 36.4% or a cent on the dollar goes to the elementary school districts, 28.1 cents or percent goes to Consolidated High School District 218. 16.8% goes to the Village of Alsip, and 18.7% goes to all the other taxing bodies. Now the next slide is not quite these same numbers because I didn't average it. I said let's look at the biggest one, which is District 126. So they're very similar, but it's not exact because of that. So let's look at the tax year 2018 property tax increases. We'll look at for a home with a $6,000 property tax for those living in school district, elementary school district 126. So the elementary school district is increasing their levy 2.5%. That means if we're paying a $6,000 property tax bill a year, you will see a $51.64 annual increase or a $4.30 monthly increase. The Consolidated High School District 218 has a 4.9% increase coming through. Their annual increase is going to be an additional $86.16 per year or $7.18 a month if you have a $6,000 property tax bill. The Village of Alsip has determined, it hasn't approved it yet, but that's on tonight's, a 2.5% percentage increase. That's a $26 annual increase or a $2.17 monthly increase. If we had averaged it over all of them, it's $2.10, so it's very similar, but we're looking specifically at District 126 here. If you look at Alsip's just compared to those 2 school districts, Alsip's increase is less than 20% of those school districts. It doesn't include Moraine Valley. They're going to increase 3.5% or another $6. So it doesn't even include that when I say it's less than 20% of the school districts. So the majority of your property tax increase, majority of your property taxes, and this year the majority of property tax increases come from those 2 school districts. If you're interested in the Truth in Taxation hearing for Moraine Valley, last year their Truth in Taxation meeting, they had no presentation like this. Their meeting lasted literally 2 minutes while they took the roll. Not a single person showed up. If you're interested, their meeting is tomorrow night. So where's the money come from? The charges for services is blue, and that's 16% of the $30.8 million for governmental funds. Property taxes is 42% or $13 million, and other taxes is 40%. Other taxes includes your the small portion of the income tax that you get from the state, fuel use tax, motor fuel tax, real estate transfer taxes, and that's pretty much most of it. And where does the spending go? Public safety, that's the big one. So that's police and fire. That's where majority of it goes. What doesn't cover in there, which is mainly police and fire related, is the general government, which is in blue. The general government has employee and retiree health insurance. And so a good portion of the 15% is not actually people. It's actually that insurance as well as the village's liability and workers' comp insurance. Road and Bridge is the other big sliver in there. That's the yellowish one or tan one. And health and welfare is 4%. That's not our one health inspector. That's really our garbage, your residential garbage service. So the bond levy, we have refinanced almost all of our bonds, actually all of them. We've either paid them off or refinanced. We'll get to that again in a few minutes. But those are where our the bonds we have. The first two we're down to just 2 bonds. The last 2, I've done our other debt. So we now have a second IEPA loan, and there's 2 IEPA loans there. That's for to repair our water system. And then installment contracts are mainly vehicles and LED lightings, and those are some older contracts out there. We have not been doing that, issuing installment contracts in recent years. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go really into the public safety pension actuarial assumptions, but I will say for the pensions and for retiree health care, the village employs an actuary. The village and the pension funds employ an actuary who looks at all of the active employees, all future potential hirees of employees, all retirees, looks at the specific people involved that have at least been hired, and kind of says, how long are we going to be paying benefits? What are we going to be paying for them using statistical averages? And where's that get us? This is an important slide. The top row shows how the police pension and the fire pension, how much they returned in the last couple of years in terms of their assets that they have under management. The fire pension last year returned 7.4%, and the previous year 7.6%. The police pension returned 6.4%, and the previous year it was 6.9%. So pretty consistent across those last 2 years. That's not going to be the case probably this year. The stock market hasn't been doing as well. OPEB, we have not yet done a trust established, but we're moving towards that direction. So the fire pension is 54% funded. The police pension is 34% funded. That's not a good percentage number. It's just not. It may look okay with regards to maybe Chicago, but if you look across the country, that's fairly poor. The actuarial report says that we're supposed to levy essentially $2.2 million for fire, and that's in the ordinance. We're going to levy $2.2 million. For police, it says we have to levy about $3.4 million, and we're going to levy $3.4 million. OPEB says we need to contribute $2.85 million or $2.86 million. We're going to contribute 1.1. Now, that doesn't mean we're not doing the rest of it, but the village board approved a policy, and it has some other resources besides all coming from property tax. So the other resources will make up that difference.
Excuse me, Ken.
Yes.
Real quick, we understand what OPEB is. That's other post-employment benefits. Can you tell everybody real quick what that breakout is?
Thank you. I apologize. Other post-employment benefits is retiree health care. So the village of Alsip has made promises to employees that when they retire, if they're of a certain age when they retire and they've had a certain number of years of service to the village, that the village will pick up a portion of their health insurance. That portion ranges from 50% all the way up to 85% until they turn Medicare eligible. When they're Medicare eligible, the village picks up 90% for them and their spouse.
For them and their spouse?
Yes.
For them and their spouse, and to the extent that some of these are earlier retirees based on the age of state statutes, you could still have other family members on there. It's less likely by the time they're Medicare eligible, but when they retire, the ACA has children up to the age of 26, so there could be other family members at retirement.
Thank you.
So now let's look at the debt. What have we been doing? As I mentioned, in 2015 and 2017, we advance refunded, or paid off every bond while not issuing any new general obligation bonds for new projects or capital items. And that brought down our present value of that debt by $1.1 million. And so our payments, which is the upper line, have dropped dramatically. The last two are the tax year we're going to do, and then next year's tax levy. They're not the one we're talking about right now, but the one we'll be talking about a year from now. But you can see the effect of properly managing our debt and refunding those bonds. The bottom one is actually the installment contracts. As I said, we're not going out for vehicles. We may have to when it comes time for fire trucks, especially the very large ones. Those are very expensive. But we recently have not been going down that road, so we've been paying those off as well. So what does that mean as you pay off your bond? Well, the next couple slides are going to be where your village money, where your property taxes go towards. So if you see that red line at the bottom, these are percentages of where your property tax dollars to the village go. That red line sort of corresponds with the previous one. The previous one was dollar amounts. This is your percent of your levy. The green line is your operations, and the blue line is your retiree benefit. So that's, again, the pension funds and OPEB liability. That's not all of your retiree benefits. There's some retiree benefits that aren't paid for with property taxes. For instance, they're paid for in the water department by water fund taxes, water fees. And it doesn't count IMRF, which isn't directly through property taxes, but it comes from other places. So it's not all your retiree benefits. But you can see that all the money that's been saved by properly managing our general obligation bonds has been going to retiree benefits, which have been skyrocketing. Meanwhile, operations have been pretty flat. But operations actually has a hidden story in it. So I'm going to take that green line and I'm going to break it up into two lines now. The upper one is healthcare. So the majority of what I'm saying is operations has actually gone towards healthcare, and that yellowish green line at the bottom, or yellowish tan line, is operations without healthcare, and half the time that's below zero. So that's been sort of hovering around zero. Really, if you looked at it, it's retiree benefits, it's healthcare, and it's no longer, but it was bonds, is where your property taxes go. Your budget, this is the current year's budget. Road and bridge, motor fuel tax, water, sewer, Heritage 1 and Heritage 2 are all marginally in the positives for the current budget that we're in. That's not where we were just a few short years ago. So they've all kind of pushed up there. Some years they actually will go down based on capital projects. If Heritage gets a new swimming pool, for instance, you may see it go down in one year and not another. But those have all sort of moved into just into the positive. The general fund is not there. It's at $1.8 million negative in the budget side. So what's important to know is that revenues are usually projected conservatively when we budget, and not all expenditures are made. So when we look at these numbers, the budget is what you're allowed to spend. Your audit is what you actually spend. And your audit numbers almost always come in much better than your budget because of those two facts. The general fund, I looked back for over a 7-year trend, and it's been negative that whole time. This is a bigger number than it's been. Part of that has to do with the fact that we've been putting so much towards retiree health care and OPEB that we've not been able to put it towards the general fund in recent years. The the $1.8 million is not going to be as bad as we originally thought when we budgeted. The reason for that is OPEB is not going to be as bad this year as we were thinking it might be. Dispatch is going to be higher, not this year, but going forward than we thought it was going to be. But OPEB, they changed the accounting rules, and we sort of made our best guess. But when we did this, the budget last year, we mentioned that when the new actuarial rules came out for OPEB, that it could swing. And it did. And so between those two things, probably a third of that isn't really there. And then those two things, the revenues and the being conservative and authorized expenditures, not as big, is going to whittle it down even further. The property taxes from operations have been frozen the last 2 year levies, which is why that general fund has got where it got to. Because everything's been going to figuring out how to pay for OPEB and for retiree health care and for regular health care. And that means that we put off some capital projects and in recent years, including the parking lot that you probably all parked at to get here. And my guess is that's going to be a tough one to get done in the budget this year at the 2.5% rate. So that may have to be pushed off again. That's going to be decided at budget time. So that's what, as I said, the village board decided on a 2.5% levy. That's what the levy looks like. The corporate and the road and bridge, those giant increases look like they're for operations. They're not. They really are for, there's no specific place to do an OPEB levy in the same way there is for fire and police. So those increases are within the corporate and the road and bridge, and that's what their increases are from. So what's the 2.5 get us? As I said, on November 30th, the Village Committee of a Whole under Finance agreed upon a 2.5% increase in the aggregate levy. For an Alsip homeowner paying a $6,000 per year in property taxes, that 2.5% aggregate levy would amount to $2.10 a month, or 7 cents a day on average. As we saw, if you're in the 126 district, it's actually $2.17 a month rather than $2.10. If you're in the other districts, it'll be a little less than $2.10. That's less than 0.5% of your overall tax increase, of an increase in your overall tax bill. That already determined levy ordinance is to be voted on in tonight's board meeting. And what's that used to pay for? That ordinance pays for 61% of all the police, fire, and ambulance services in the village. So that property tax is, again, 42% of your general, the governmental fund revenues comes from that, and it's used specifically to pay for your police service, your fire service, and your ambulance services. And with that...
So just to go back real quick and recap, sure. The one thing that you did say that we did, and that $1.8 million deficit budget that was approved, for this fiscal year, we said we saw savings come back for the OPEB, meaning that there was a savings in our retirement health care, which reduced that by, what, about $500,000? Yeah,
something around that. Now, that's not really a savings. We put a huge amount towards it because we knew it was coming, and we overestimated where it ended up coming because we're doing the right stuff. And the accounting rule, not the actuarial rules and the accounting rules completely changed on what's considered debt. So we made our best guess, and at the time said that could swing a bit. Right. And it did. And luckily it swung in our favor. And
again, of that 1.3 deficit, when you look at it, almost $1 million that was one-time payouts we were kind of forced to do with a 911 consolidation because the state mandated that we consolidate our 911 dispatch. There was over $659,000 that we had to go that direction. And we had 4 to 5 firemen retire almost all at the same time. So all the buyout time that they had accrued over 25 or 30 years the rest went there. So we shouldn't have those expenses
We
next year.
should not, those were, you were correct, there were two very large one-time expenses in the general fund this last year.
And we were covering them.
Having said that, there are some capital items that are been out there for a number of years. We've whittled some of those down last year, but the big one really is the parking lot, which probably at a 2.5% rate, maybe one more year out.
And we covered those monies with our fund balance, but again, we're not living that far outside of our means because of what we were pressured to do.
Correct. And that $1.8 million, as I said, it's probably down to 1.2 because of the other. It's going to come down further because those were one-time deals. But it's still a tight budget that had grown partially because of those one-time deals, but partially because we had been putting everything the last 2 years towards retiree health care and retiree pensions.
Exactly.
And we had gotten behind on those, and we hadn't been making what the actuary said because what the actuary said had gone up so dramatic. It had been rising at a huge, huge rate, and we had to get back on schedule to pay what the actuary said, or we would never be able to catch up, and property taxes would absolutely explode.
Which is what the board did last year. That was the catch-up that we did.
And
Right.
it was tough on operations because for 2 years, no
Right.
property tax levy increase at the time went towards operations. Having said that, because OPEB is going to be a little less than anticipated, some of that money will have gone towards operations, but when it was levied, it was thought that none was.
Okay. So we've met on this a couple of times now, as far as the board is concerned. Before I open up the public forum, did the board have any other questions? Trustees? No? Anybody? Okay. Folks, we certainly, because this is considered a public hearing, we certainly have a public forum aspect of the meeting. Should anybody have a question or want to make a statement, you're welcome to do so. Just go ahead, sir. Yeah, when you come up, if you would, just sign in when you, or before or after, yeah, just so we know who we spoke to. There's a stand-up one right behind you. Thank you.
My name is Rich Ryan. I've been in Alsip for 30 years, something like that. I'm a numbers guy. I run a business. I run a $60 million business. My company has a pension, but we ended it in 1998. By law, we have to be at 80% funded. We are still putting $25 million a year into that pension, even though it ended in 1998. And what does it mean when it ended? It means that any benefits you accrued, you get. It means that anybody that's retired still gets their pension. If you look at the numbers here, it's going to get worse, and worse, and worse, and worse. It's already eating up, what, about 30% of your budget? That'll be 40% in 5 years. That'll be 50% in 10 years. You won't get your streets plowed. You'll have police cars with the wheels falling off because there's no way you're going to be able to control this. Rahm Emanuel, after he gets out of office, decides it's a good idea to go on record and say, we need to end pensions in Illinois by passing an amendment. If you want to fix the problem, that's what you have to do. I'd ask this board go on record to the state legislature and the governor to say, we need to end pensions in Illinois. If you want to help the taxpayers, that's what you have to do. Because there's nothing you can do. Guys, I credit 2.5% is nothing. Tinley Park went up 4. Mm-hmm. And Tinley Park doesn't have a full-time fire department. I mean, we're stuck with that. Firemen that make, what, $100,000 a year? You know, and they get pensions and everything else. So it's out of control. The state of Illinois raised the taxes from 3.5 to 5. The budget deficit on pensions went from $100 billion to $130 billion. So no matter what you do, so if there's nothing you can do. You can control your. And right now we're, trying to control your regular spending. and it's all going to pensions. So everything else is getting your capital budget for making improvements and setting money aside for police cars and fire trucks. It's limited. Infrastructure for the water, sewers, limited. All going to retiree pensions. It's got to end. And if it doesn't end, home values are going to go boof because property taxes are going to go through the roof. I think overall the town's done a pretty credible job by diversifying, having a good industrial base that picks up 40% of it. But their taxes keep going up. They're going to move too. So, the only hope is to do something about pensions. Because if you don't do something about those programs, Village of Alsip is going to be like Riverdale and the rest of them. So, I don't know why we're having a meeting about 2.5%. It's nothing. But, at the end of the day, I recommend this board go on record and say, we got to stop this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We actually, so everybody knows too, actually a couple of years ago, we did adopt a Tier 2 pay program, which addresses part of that. In other words, when it does come down to retirements, first, we're hiring personnel now at less money than what we used to. It makes it a little bit tough to get good quality people, but we're still hanging in there. We're getting some good people to fill those jobs. Many communities around us are trying to bait our people to go there after we've trained them. We actually have employment agreements now with these people too to protect your tax money that we're spending to train these folks and stuff then too. Fire department doesn't have to do that. We actually require that they have all these certifications coming in, but starting pay now is not what it used to be. Also, at retirement, no matter what, it's only what is it? As far as health care goes, it's 50% of the COBRA, and we're not doing more than that right now, right?
For the
Tier 2?
For Tier 2,
Yeah.
they have, I think it's 50% for health care. There's no dental or vision for them. Spouse would have to pick up 100%. There's nothing once they turn Medicare eligible.
Yeah, so we've tweaked it, but your point's well taken. We're trying to tweak what it was.
It's taken almost all of it, but it's prospectively as of 2016 when that passed.
And for some of the folks that, it came to your attention with the Medicare issue with, 90% getting picked up after 65, those were negotiated decades ago. And some folks are still in that program. Everybody that's been hired for the last 2 years will not get that benefit, right? Because it's strictly just Medicare, right?
Right.
Okay.
What's the new benefit?
For the health care?
Yes.
Again, the people who were hired after that date in 2016, I think it's 50% for the employee. They have to pay 100% for their spouse if their spouse is covered. It only goes to Medicare eligible, and there's no dental or vision.
The attorney was saying 75.
Is it 75? Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
100% for
75.
Yeah.
But it's I do want to make one quick comment that the gentleman made. We should be able to keep up with the police and fire pensions at this point. I mean, they should go up. The state says you're supposed to do something. That's the slide I kind of went quickly past. You're supposed to do 90% of a rate that just is not sustainable. The village did the actuarial smart thing and did 100%. It's something that's pretty level. The problem isn't going to be on the pension side. The problem is going to be on the healthcare side. It's the healthcare. It's the same thing. The gentleman, wherever he's at with his business, or anyone else who owns a business, it's the rates of healthcare for both the employees and, in our case, for a lot of retirees, at least until the people who were hired in 2016. Those rates will go up dramatically, and that's going to be the tough thing to control. Is healthcare. If healthcare keeps on its double-digit increases that it has for a generation.
We actually had a memo I read Friday that actually in the next 20 years or so, 20 or 30 years, you're going to see healthcare costs outpace your budgets by 2 to 3 times what it is right now. Healthcare is just through the roof.
I will say that stuff on the debt, I mean, I know that stuff on the debt, the village has been handling debt the past few years very, very well. We're not, there's some references to some of the neighboring communities. We're not in that position, and we have no intention of going to that position. The thing that worries me as the finance guy is just long-term how much health care rates go up and what the impact to the village is on that, both for active employees and for some retired employees.
Okay.
The bonds are paid, so why are we increasing the fee and going lower if the bonds are paid now?
Right, the bonds aren't fully paid. The parts that were paid by the property tax levy. So there's a lot of bonds. If you live in the Heritage 1 or Heritage 2 apartments, those bonds, to improve those, are paid for by rent. If there's a water or sewer system, those bonds are paid for by your water fees or your sewer fees. So there's other ways to pay, but for the stuff that was done on property taxes, that's been going down dramatically because we refinanced a lot of those bonds or paid them off, and we're continuing to pay them off. They're going away. But even with that savings, the retiree health care, what the actuaries have told us we have to put towards retiree health care and towards the retiree pensions has just ballooned in the last 5 years and made up all of that savings and then some.
The thing is, if we don't get raises, I can tell you the last time I got a raise in my job. I pay all my taxes, I don't get it.
You said after.
If you're going to speak,
I'm sorry.
The clerk's going to ask that you come up and sign in so she knows when they do the minutes.
You said after 2016.
I'm sorry, can you state your...
My name is Joe. Been a longtime Village of Alsip resident for almost 46 years. You said after 2016 with this new Tier 2 that the taxes are going to go to start, the benefits, whatnot, are going to start dropping. What percentage have started before 2016? Because I want to say that's probably about 95% of the village. So where do you see that we're going to get a break anytime soon?
On the healthcare stuff, I don't see that there's a break anytime soon.
But you just got done saying that it's going to levy out.
No, with the police and fire pensions, I think that's not going to be the problem. I think the problem is going to be healthcare rates and hopefully
exactly. And for everybody that was prior to 2016 is going to get the full benefits, right?
For their whole lives and
for their whole lives. So that's 95% of the village that's going to get full. So where does it even out at? You said it's going to be levy.
The
so
police
for the next
and fire is going
probably
to be
15 to 20 years, as these people all starting to retire, that's more and more money that's going to be lost. So we're at what? 40, what do you say? 46% now? Did you say that 46?
About 30% of the budget goes
right.
Right.
So by 2020, we'll be at about 35, and you figure every year it's only going to go up by about 5% each year. So where do you say we're leveling out?
As I said, the police and fire pensions are going to be fairly level. The health care rates, both for the active employees.
You just repeated yourself again. We already understand
there's not good. We just have to hope that rates stay reasonable in health care, and we're at the mercy of health care rates. Every business in America is also at the mercy of that.
Right.
Yeah, but you're not comprehending what I'm saying.
No, it's not.
What he's also, and you're right, we're not going to see the benefit for that for like maybe another 18 years.
Right.
But we had to start that someplace.
We're going to stay level.
As far as budgeting, is that what you're saying?
That shouldn't have an issue with it.
With the police and fire pension, and IMRF for that matter, they should stay fairly level. It's the healthcare side that I don't see that happening.
Right.
Healthcare on everybody across the board, across the state, across the country, keeps going up. It needs to stop. Needs to stop.
I don't disagree. I don't know how we're going to.
$600 every 2 weeks for a family of 4 for insurance. That sucks.
I pay $1,000 a month for a family of 3.
State your name.
Steve Dercasey, and we pay $10,000 a month in health care for our employees. However, statewide, village-wide, I've heard in this room before The village is locked into contracts that were negotiated decades ago with some of their employees. Am I
Right.
correct?
Right, that's correct.
So this board has no control over what was done in the past. And it's statewide. And it's probably federal-wide. That's where all our tax dollars are going, for agreements for very generous benefits that were negotiated many years ago. Welcome to Illinois, people. I mean, that's the way it is. These guys are trying to deal with it. They're trying to do the best they can with what they have to work with. And I'm a property owner, too, in Alsip. I'm not a homeowner, but I'm a property taxpayer. And do I like it? Because everybody else on my tax bill, all those other itemized, they're all going to raise taxes, too. All of them. So don't expect it to go down, because they're all dealing with the same issues that this board's dealing with right now. But they're locked in. They really can't. You cannot nullify an agreement.
That's right. You
For
cannot
a-
diminish them, but unfit.
When you hire
It's a
somebody
contract.
and you promise them, it's a contract.
And
So-
with the state of Illinois, what
Screwed.
Thank you, sir.
Earlier they mentioned Rahm Emanuel and what he's requested. He's requested to change the state constitution. The state constitution in, I think, 1972 said that once you promise a benefit, you can't take that away. And so all of these, all you can do is change it prospectively, which is why everyone's talking about a Tier 2 pension, a Tier 2 OPEB, a Tier 2 wage. The only thing that can be done is said, okay, as of this date, these are the new promises to new hirees. You're not allowed to change it by the state constitution. Other states have different rules. The majority of states do not have that rule. That is something that is not just affecting you at your municipality level. It's affecting you at your school board level, at your park district, your library district. It's affecting you at the county. The amount of debt that you have at the county for these benefits, at the state. All of these are ones, all of them are by that portion of the state constitution affected.
That's why Illinois' financial test is bigger than anybody else.
That is,
States that have allowed the change and allowed people to go on 401ks and gotten away from defined benefits, their finances are much better.
or even said the rate of increase changes or whatever. Maybe it didn't get rid of the whole pension plan, but just allowed some negotiation for changes. But once the promise has been made in the state of Illinois, it can't be changed.
Even if you change the Constitution, it would take 30 years to start the light scope to go the other way.
Sure. And actually, I've seen many, there's a popular website called Illinois Policy that I read often, and it's amazing how the 50 states, you're right. Maybe half of them are utilizing 401k programs as opposed to pension programs and stuff then too. So, but anybody else? Any other comment?
I just got one other question.
Sure, Joe.
With our overall taxes,
Yes.
just in general, say you pay $6,000 a year, why are they so different? From one dwelling to another. The reason I'm asking is because I'm over $6,000 in taxes, and the same exact house, same exact property, they fluctuate from anywhere between $3,800 to where I'm at over $6,000.
Yeah, it's really, we've had a couple of, it's really when it comes back to the assessor's office, and it's a matter of dealing with them, Joe, unfortunately.
They don't have an answer either.
I know. And I'll tell you, when we did the $6,000 one, I leave my tax bill on my desk in case, because folks have this question. Sometimes it's even hard to read for some folks, those you get when you get your tax bill. But I actually use my own house for an example. That's where I'm at. I've got maybe a 1,200 square foot home on a half-acre lot, but you can't live in the backyard, but you're still paying for all that property and everything, And that's your atypical, like, Alsip home, let's
But
say.
I was
Some
just
folks are
wondering
paying
why
more,
it's
some are paying less, that kind of
so
thing,
wide of a margin of, it's close to like $2,500.
Oh, there's a lady down the street from me. I spoke to her about a week ago. She's got a 1,600 square foot home, maybe only 20 years old, paying $8,000 a year. I totally agree with you.
I'm saying 4 identical houses, though.
Yeah.
That have 4 totally different amounts that they pay for taxes.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We don't have any control over it. We're in the same situation you are. It's the assessor's office, and maybe with this new guy, Fritz Craggy, it seems like he's willing to work with folks a little bit more, so maybe we'll see something out of him. He just got in office just last month, so maybe we'll see something different out of him. But when Mr. Barrows was in there, there was a differential there. When he thought there was going to be a property tax freeze, I thought he got a little aggressive a couple of years ago with that. We were kind of looking at the same thing. It didn't happen. The General Assembly went into like a veto session on other matters, and they never got back to it. I really think at some point they're going to try a property tax freeze. And everybody, like higher up-wise, county and state-wise, they're all trying to get ahead of that ball. We're just doing what we can on our end to make, to keep our costs down as much as we can. And that's part of the reason why our percentage is so much smaller than everybody else's. You'll see some communities with their taxes being a little bit higher, maybe, and they're getting the money. We're doing what we can to keep that ceiling down and do the best we can in our working class community then too. Live within our means. All right. So I want to ask them, folks, if we can adjourn this meeting. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll close out this meeting, then we'll adjourn this at 7:50? Yeah, 2?
7:52 p.m.
Okay. And we can go right into our board meeting then, too. And just keep in mind, too, folks, certainly you're welcome to stay. If don't feel compelled if you wanted to leave for any reason. That you don't have to feel compelled to stay, but you're certainly welcome. We're going to just start our board meeting right now. Typically, this would start at 7:30, and we'll supposed to do this as protocol. We'll call this meeting to order at 7:53.
Sure.
And can you call the roll again, please?
Yes. Trustee McGrail currently is absent. Trustee Dalzell is absent. Trustee Zielinski.
Here.
Trustee Juarez.
Here.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Here.
Trustee Murphy.
Here.
Mayor Ryan.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Officers' reports, starting with myself. I don't know if anybody noticed when you came in this evening, and we did put the bunting out in the front door. It's really unfortunate this afternoon we were told that if anyone knows Bob Schneider from the community, Bob passed away today. And Bob, I've known him for about 6 years now that I've been on the board. And he's really been a staple here in our community for a long time. I was told he helped run the Alsip Summerfest for almost 27 years. He was our electrical inspector for the village. He is a Park District Commissioner right now. And obviously he played seasonal Santa for us every year, too. So Bob was a great guy. I heard he was at your house every year. He was Santa at your house, too, Trustee McLaughlin.
For the last 20 years at least, he's been there.
So and then also we heard today that Bernie Hartigan passed away. He was 81 years old. Bernie was a longtime Alsipian, and he is the loving brother-in-law of Mary Ann and Jack Carlson. Jack was a former trustee and police and fire commissioner here as well then, too. Bernie's wake will be Tuesday from 3 to 8. Visitation 3 to the funeral is at 10 a.m. at Thornridge Funeral Homes. Everything's at the same place at 143rd and LaGrange Road. And then we spoke to Father Barrett right before the meeting this evening for Bob Schneider. His wake is going to be Thursday at Beckvar at 5539 West 127th Street. And his funeral is going to be Friday at St. Terrence Church at 11 a.m. And certainly on behalf of the Village of Alsip, we extend our condolences to these men's families and on their loss of a loved one, and ask that everyone keep them, please, in their prayers. Both guys, great guys. And so I met Mr. Hartigan once, and like I said, actually last year when I was elected, Bob Schneider actually made time with me. He picked me up and drove me around and introduced me to a lot of the local business owners. Great guy. We're going to miss him. Very good guy. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have the times for Bob for Thursday?
You know what? Father Barrett sent this over, and he didn't include it, but yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, just for a clarification, Bernie Hartigan is going to have a funeral mass out of St. Terrence Father Barrett just sent this to me. Funeral mass out of St. Terrence Wednesday at 11 a.m. And he is waked from 3 to 8 tomorrow at Thornridge Funeral Home at 143rd and LaGrange Road.
Sounds good. I see.
Yeah.
This was I actually took this offline, so I'll go with Father Barrett on this one. All right, thank you. What else I had? Oh, and the other thing I had in there too, this is for the public as well too. We had this posted, I believe, on the bulletin board in the hallway. The first ever, from November 23rd until December 31st, Six Flags Great America has their holiday in the park. South Suburban mayors and managers, discount days. So this next, until the end of the month, save 60%, and your price is only $30. They have over 2 million sparkling lights, music light show, festival shows, Mr. and Mrs. Claus, thrilling attractions, and the roller coasters apparently then too. So you can look this up. It doesn't even say you have to, it's sixflags.com for more details on that. So I got this from one of the mayor associations that we belong to here. That's all I had. First on my report, I had approval to create a Class C liquor license for the Shell gas station, which is going to be known as Shell gas station. The gentleman, they're getting ready to open this pretty soon. This used to be Citco at 11725 South Pulaski. Within their convenience store to be known as Alsip Simple Mart, operated by Stephen and Simi Chaco, pending an application and compliance associated with said license. In other words, my request is just to create a license for these folks to sell liquor in their gas station. At this time, they're not applying for the liquor license, but they want to know if they can get one should they comply.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
are there any gas stations that currently have a Class C?
I'll be honest, I don't have a list in front of me. I know most are beer and wine
I was
folks,
going to say,
but I'm
my
not sure about full
interpretation
liquor.
of the ordinance is that we only allow Class F at service stations.
Okay, we can double check that. Yeah, we can double check that, sure. And that's all I had. Clerk's report?
Thank you, Mayor Ryan. Approval of the November 2018 FOIA report. There were a total of 19 requests last month. And presentation and approval of the December 3rd, 2018 Board of Trustee meeting minutes. That is all, Mayor Ryan.
Thank you. Attorney's report, we have Mike Kankar with us tonight.
No report, sir.
All right, thank you. Engineer's report, I know he was excused, he had something else going on, so we have no report from him. Unless, Mike, did you have anything from him at all?
I included a report with Trustee Flores, started televising and cleaning sanitary sewer lines today in Davis State.
So we're televising and cleaning sewer lines in David Estates? Okay. All right, we have the public forum again. Anyone from the public wish to address this board this evening? All right, well, thank you. Nobody? And we'll move on to committee reports. Standing committees, Finance Committee, Trustee McGlawhorn.
First, I have a request for approval of a list of payroll dated December 7th, 2018, totaling $478,212.83. Next, I have a request for approval of accounts payable dated December 17th. From the recap, General Fund, $362,727.71. Road and Bridge, $12,558.83. MFT, $839.76. Pulaski Road Corridor TIF, $3,855.94. Water and Sewer, $961,251.33. Heritage, $18,752.27, for a grand total all funds of $1,359,985.84. And finally, under Finance, I have a request for approval of an ordinance levying taxes for general corporate purpose for the fiscal year beginning May 1, 2018, and ending April 30, 2019, for the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois. And that's all I have under Finance, Mayor.
What's the percentage for number 3?
Oh, 2.5.
Can we add that in?
All right, very good. We'll move on to the Fire Committee report for Trustee McGlawhorn.
Number one, I apologize, we didn't get the updated language into the agenda. So we're not making the motion as it...
Should have been in there.
I know, but for some reason, it still has the remote station monitoring according to NFPA 72, as opposed to...
Sent in.
Yeah, so the corrected language... of course,
There's
it
some other
disappeared.
provisions that are in there besides just that one.
I had it open and it closed out on me. No, it's not on there. I apologize while this is opening. Okay, there we go. Okay, so updated language includes all businesses or multifamily residential housing required to have a fire alarm system shall have the option of using the Keltron system, which is directly connected to the village's dispatch center, or a fire alarm system which is wireless and connected to a central station. There's also some additional items within the ordinance, but that's the direction we want to go.
Okay, was that,
It's got remote monitoring in there with the central station.
Right.
okay, so we did adjust that from the last conversation we had?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, Trustee McLaughlin, what page about did you find that on so I can add it?
I said I have an email from the chief, so I will make sure you have it.
It should have been with the attachment that was sent in last week for today.
Well, I'm looking in the board packet to try to find it, and I'm
And that's
not-
what I'm saying. For some reason, it didn't make it there, and I didn't catch that.
Is this what you're looking at from Thursday the 13th?
The chief sent it actually Wednesday at 2:38 p.m. And then I sent it on Thursday.
I don't see it in the packet.
As you said, trustee, it actually, in the packet, all it showed was Chief Stasinski. It didn't translate into the packet. In other words, the cover sheet is there, but the actual language is in an email that wasn't attached to this, so.
Right, so-
She'll have to send this over to the
Yeah,
clerk.
so it's got the central station remote monitoring. It's got added any local alarms will have to be monitored by December 31st of 2020. That was the other addition, and I forgot, there's one other small addition, but it's a language change. That's all it is.
Okay.
So what is on the consent agenda is just the approval to have the attorney
Have the
draft
formal
it.
ordinance, right.
So you will have it sent, okay.
Yep. All right, next I have a request for approval of the October 2018 monthly activity report from the Fire Prevention Bureau. I also have a request for approval of the September 2018 monthly activity report based on the National Fire Incident Reporting System. And finally, I have a request for approval of the chief's recommendation to move forward with the purchase of Genesis hydraulic tools totaling $25,120, which has been approved for purchase by the Foreign Fire Tax Insurance Fund. That's all I have.
All right,
Anything, Chief?
No, we're just switching out our gas-operated tools to battery tools, that's all.
All right, thanks. The police report committee?
It would be either Trustee Juarez or Trustee McLaughlin.
I have an approval to outfit 3 previously approved police Ford Explorers at the cost not to exceed $49,000 total for all 3 vehicles. We did budget for this expense. We will be recycling from old squads 2 rifle racks, 2 radios, 1 light bar, 1 siren controller, and possibly 1 camera system. That's all, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Trustee Juarez, the public work and boat launch report?
I have an approval of the November 2018 monthly activity report. That's all, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Building committee, Trustee Zelinski?
No report this evening, Mayor.
All right. The sewer and water report committee?
It would be Trustee Murphy or Trustee Zelinski, please.
Okay, we got the approval for the November 2018 monthly activity report. Also, approval to purchase water meters at a cost not to exceed $80,500. This purchase is for the ongoing replacement of residential water meters and was appropriated for in the fiscal year 2019 budget. That's all for tonight.
Okay, thank you. The License Committee, Trustee Juarez.
I have a request for approval of a list of licenses dated November 26th through December 10th, 2018.
All right, and we'll go to the Economic Development Committee. Oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Murphy. Sorry.
I have the approval for the November 2018 monthly activity report. That's all I have, sir.
All right. Planning and Zoning, Trustee Zelinski.
Approval of case number 2018-11-V-200 for a variance of an oversized garage on the property commonly known as 11911 South Avers, Alsip, Illinois 60803. The Planning and Zoning Committee voted 4-0 to approve variance requested on November 28th, 2018. And that's all for tonight.
Okay. Thank you. The Special Committee reports, Village Properties, Trustee McLaurin.
No report this evening, Mayor.
All right. The Insurance Committee.
Trustee Murphy or Trustee McLaughlin, please.
No report, sir.
All right. Ordinance Legislation, Trustee Murphy.
I have no report this evening.
IT Committee.
No report this evening.
Okay. Human Resource Committee.
No report.
Health and Pollution, Trustee Murphy.
I have the approval to have Linda Cavello attend the Certified Food Protection course on January 22nd, 2019 at a cost of $180. This has been allocated in the budget. This will be replacing the former Illinois Food Service Sanitation Certification. And I have, number 2, I have December is National AIDS Awareness Month. The Red Ribbon Month represents raising awareness, public education, and remembering those impacted by HIV and AIDS. And that's all I have, sir.
Thank you. The Traffic Safety Committee.
Trustee McLaughlin or Trustee Juarez, please.
No report.
Okay. Trustees, any petitions, presentations, or communications? You know, give me just 1 minute. Oh, here he comes. I asked the Finance Director if Trustee McLaurin, check on that ordinance you asked about real quick. Go ahead and give it to her, yeah. If you can confirm what you were talking about, Trustee, with as far as the liquor license was concerned.
Okay, well, and it does say Class F shall include gasoline service stations provided that the following guidelines are met. 1, that the mini-mart space be at least 3,000 square feet, and 2, that only 15% of the display space may be used for the sale of beer and wine.
Okay.
The other thing is, on Class C, it talked about they could sell, but as long as it wasn't consumed. So in theory, there might be Class C, but there's no way to know without looking at the numbers.
And I did speak with, well, let's put it this way. I know in the last couple of years, I know there's been a couple of liquor licenses that went out to gas stations that, like, that was drafted. I'm not sure. What year was that drafted, Trustee?
Yeah, it's printed today, so.
Okay. No, the ordinance itself,
Oh,
it's quite a bit old, but
That's just the section.
there are other venues, other gas stations that don't meet the 3,000 square foot criteria.
I'm sure they don't meet
variance
the
on that.
3,000 foot
Yeah.
rule, but I'm not personally ready to open it up to a Class C and allow other packaged alcohol if all we're allowing everybody else is beer and wine.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me what a Class C is?
Actually, she's got the definition right in front of her. Can you tell it, please?
Yeah, I can read that to you. A Class C license shall authorize the sale at retail of alcoholic liquor on the specified premises, but shall not permit consumption therein. No licensee under this subsection shall be permitted to sell single container sales of beer less than 1 quart.
So you can actually have it's a regular liquor store, and the gentleman, the new owner, did say it was a very small, like 15% of the store was going to be dedicated to that yet, too. So it wasn't going to be an all-out liquor store, anything like that, but it was going to help him with sales in his gas station then, too. So
Actually, Mayor, I believe he said he was looking at a minimum of 25%.
was it 20? I thought I heard 15. I know, I thought Mr. Chaco was here. I guess not. Okay, I thought I saw him here. But
Not that I know of. All the other
certainly
organizations that I know of have beer.
we'll address that next. So in other words, trustees, would you like to remove any items from the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move item A.
A?
A is an apple.
All right. Anybody else?
We just adjust F to include the 2.5%.
Approval of an ordinance levying taxes 2.5% for general corporate purposes for the fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2018, and ending April 30th, 2019, for the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois.
That would be fine.
It's letter F. Okay, can I get a motion then to establish a consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call number 1 to establish the consent agenda. Again, letter A has been removed. Trustee McGreal is absent. Trustee Dalzell is absent. Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Trustees, can I get a motion then to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call number 2 to approve the consent agenda. Recapping, letter A has been removed. Letter D, approval of a list of payroll dated December 7th, 2018, totaling $478,212.83. Letter E, approval of a list of accounts payable dated December 17th, 2018, totaling $1,359,985.84. Letter F, approval of an ordinance levying taxes 2.5% for general corporate purposes for the fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2018, and ending April 30th, 2019, for the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois. This will be ordinance number 2018-12-2. Again, roll call number 2 to approve. Trustee McGreal is absent. Trustee Dalzell is absent. Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Motion carries to approve.
Thank you. We'll go back to item A was removed. This was approval to create a Class C liquor license for the Shell gas station at 11725 Pulaski within the convenience store to be known as the Alsip Simple Mart, operated by Stephen and Simi Chaco, pending application and compliance associated with said license. Trustee McLaughlin, you had a question on that?
No, I would like a separate vote on that because I'm not in favor of a Class C.
Okay. Can I get a motion then, please?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Roll call number 3 to approve. Approval to create a Class C liquor license for Shell Gas Station 11725 South Pulaski within the convenience store to be known as Alsip Simple Mart, operated by Stephen and Simi Chaco, pending application and compliance associated with said license. Trustee McGreal is absent. Trustee Dalzell is absent. Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
No.
Trustee McLaughlin.
No.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Mayor Ryan.
Yes.
Motion carries.
No, it doesn't.
No?
You need 4.
No, this is just
Is it?
for me to prepare I have to
Oh,
prepare an
okay.
ordinance to get it done, so it's a simple
Okay.
vote.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, there's nothing out there yet. Okay. So, all right, well, thank you, trustees. Next on here, any unfinished business? Any new business?
Generally speaking, I know it's posted on the website and on Facebook. Village Hall is closing early this week, Friday at noon, and Village Hall will be closed Monday in observance of Christmas Eve and Tuesday in observance of Christmas. From my family to yours, Merry Christmas.
I want to do the same. Thank you for everyone for being here this evening, and certainly on behalf of my office and the Village of Alsip, I hope everybody has a great holiday coming up next weekend then, too. The next time we meet, we'll actually be in committee on The 26th, right, Wednesday?
Correct.
Okay, is when we get back in session. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to adjourn to closed session. We've got some other matters to discuss tonight. We're not going to vote on anything else. I will read this into the record. We're going to go into closed session to discuss collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2, Chapter 2, requested by myself. Can I get a motion, please, in a second?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call number 4 to adjourn to closed session. Trustee McGreal is absent. Trustee Dalzell is absent. Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Motion carries to adjourn to closed session.
We'll do that at 8:17. Again, thanks for coming out, folks. Enjoy your holiday. Thank you.
Please, 7.